I think we're good to go.
Okay. All right. Good morning. This is Colin Willoughby. Welcome you all to the meeting of the North Carolina State Bar Council. Members of the council are hereby advised of their duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflicts of interest or the appearance of conflict, and are instructed to refrain from participating in any matter coming before this council with respect to which there's a conflict of interest or appearance of conflict. If anyone is aware of that, you're welcome to put it on the record or fill out one of the conflict sheets and turn in. I had on the agenda to begin with some remarks from Mark Holt, our president of the North Carolina Bar Association. I didn't see if Mark had joined us yet. Is he with us?
I'm here, Colin.
Oh, okay, good.
Good morning.
No, you've been. Thanks. We'd love to hear from you and the Bar Association.
Thank you, Colin. I greatly appreciate the kind invitation to report this morning on behalf of the North Carolina Bar Association. And Colin, I want to say congratulations to you and thank you for your dedicated service as president of the North Carolina State Bar. It has been wonderful to work with you. I also want to say congratulations to Barbara Christie. I was inspired by your remarks this morning, and congratulations to Darren Jordan and Marcy Armstrong. I look forward to working with you. Our president-elect, John Howell, our immediate past president, Leanne Neese-Brown, and our executive director, Jason Hensley, join me in congratulating all of you and expressing our gratitude for the vital work of the North Carolina State Bar and for your leadership. We appreciate the opportunity to work with you as leaders. We appreciate the opportunity to work with the State Bar Council and with the State Bar staff. And we appreciate this opportunity to update you on some of our activities and grateful for your reports. Colin just presented to our boards recently, and we're grateful for these opportunities. Like you, we began our year with a virtual annual meeting, which occurred in late June. And our members have continued to work hard in pursuit of our mission in a remote format. As our state's voluntary bar organization, we feel a deep responsibility to support the legal community of our state at all times, and particularly at a time like this. Like you, we know our state needs a strong community of legal professionals working together to meet the legal needs of our state. And we're continuing to do all we can to build community and provide a welcoming home for all the members of our state's legal community, and to support and equip attorneys with the resources they need in these particular circumstances to deliver legal services to those who are depending on them, even as many of them are struggling. So we are continuing to work in a remote format as you are, and we will, for the remainder of the bar year, in what we call a virtual first policy. By announcing our intention to function remotely for the rest of the bar year, our sections, divisions, and committees have the ability to plan all of their activities for the year in a virtual format rather than delay their planning and uncertainty about whether and when in-person events can take place. If circumstances change, we will adjust, but we're encouraged by the results of this plan. Our sections, divisions, and committees are holding meetings by Zoom. Attendance and participation is strong, and all our groups are continuing to carry out their usual and annual functions of serving our profession and the public. They're also finding creative ways to engage members remotely through virtual socials, trivia nights, book discussions, virtual dialogues on important topics such as race and the pursuit of justice. It's inspiring to see our members working so hard to pursue our mission and support each other in these unique circumstances. Our Center for Practice Management continues to support lawyers and firms in their transitions to work in different formats that rely heavily on technology. Bar Cares is available to our members who need that type of support, as is an abundant amount of resources provided by our Professional Vitality Committee online. We know that many of our members are isolated from work colleagues, and this makes the ability to stay connected with our attorneys virtually very important and sustaining to these members. And we appreciate opportunities to bring the legal community together to pursue their important work during these times. We're benefited in these efforts by new technology we launched at the Bar Association on July 1, including a new website and new technology platforms, including new systems for our community and membership engagement, as well as participation in CLE. I want to give you a little report on how we're doing CLE now. Our CLE participation is strong through live webcasts and on-demand products. With live webcasts, our CLE speakers broadcast their presentations from the Bar Center with only essential staff present and with all applicable safety and health guidelines and precautions followed. CLE registrants can watch remotely and interact digitally while the program is taking place, or they have the option to watch later at a more convenient time. Our feedback about these programs has been very positive. This format has been particularly successful for our annual CLEs produced by practice sections, with estate planning and fiduciary law leading off this summer in this format, and other sections following with their annual CLE to keep their members up to date in their practice areas. We believe it's vitally important now to provide attorneys with CLE in a format that works for them, both in terms of convenience regarding their time as well as digital accessibility. And we feel fortunate to have a platform available to meet this need in terms of how CLE is produced and delivered, and to be able to keep North Carolina attorneys up to date and competent in their practices at this time. We've also been welcoming new law students and newly licensed attorneys in North Carolina. In August, our leadership and our Young Lawyers Division visited virtually with first-year law classes at our law schools and welcomed them to the profession and their free membership in the North Carolina Bar Association. And this week, our Young Lawyers Division welcomed newly licensed attorneys in a virtual reception on Monday evening, and on Tuesday and Wednesday, we had over 200 newly licensed North Carolina attorneys attend our virtual Professionalism for New Attorneys program that was provided to them at no cost. This had increased attendance over last year. And as you know, we also provide membership to North Carolina attorneys during their first 2 years of practice without cost, including a practice section and 12 hours of monthly expert series CLE. So as with many activities at the Bar Association, we're disappointed not to meet our new law students and meet new attorneys in our state, but we're grateful for creative ways to engage and assist their entrance into our profession. As you know, this is also an important election year for judicial races in our state, and we were very pleased to partner with UNC TV to sponsor televised judicial candidate forums for all 8 races for our appellate courts. All 16 candidates agreed to participate. 3 separate programs were produced and televised on multiple occasions on UNC TV between September 29th and October 7th. One featured the candidates for Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Another featured the candidates in the 2 races for Associate Justice on the Supreme Court. And a third program featured candidates for the 5 Court of Appeals races. The candidate forums for all 8 races are available for viewing through our website and YouTube, and all of the forums combined have had over 12,000 views online so far. We're grateful to provide this resource to the voters of the state as they make important decisions about these races. Finally, I'd like to give you a quick report on the North Carolina Bar Foundation. This Sunday, October 25th, begins Celebrate Pro Bono Week nationally. And we're pleased and proud that our foundation and North Carolina attorneys continue to deliver important pro bono remotely during these challenging times of the pandemic. Our foundation has conducted 6 COVID-19 virtual legal hotlines in which 330 volunteers have assisted over 3,600 callers across the state. We've utilized technology that allows a caller to first speak with a volunteer, paralegal, or law student who screens the call and then transfers them to a volunteer attorney in the practice area of their question. This is all done through the Telsio website and app, and it allows our volunteers to provide pro bono from their homes and offices. Phone numbers have been promoted by local television and on social media, and we anticipate using a similar technology for our foundation's For All statewide day of service on March 5th, 2021, an annual pro bono event in North Carolina, when attorneys typically supply legal information to 8,000 to 10,000 callers from across the state. NC Free Legal Answers is a web-based program utilized by our foundation. Volunteer attorneys provide legal advice to low-income North Carolinians online. This program existed before the pandemic, but it's turned out to be an ideal format for pro bono during the pandemic, since everything is done by email through the website. Last year, over 1,400 questions were answered from clients from people in 95 North Carolina counties. And finally, our Wills for Heroes program provides simple wills, healthcare power of attorney, and financial power of attorney documents for first responders. Last year, our foundation held 6 in-person clinics at which 630 documents were prepared for 210 families. This program is just too important to not carry out during the pandemic. So we are in the process of utilizing technology to transition this program to a virtual format, and we look forward to carrying that out soon. We have numerous other virtual pro bono and public service programs. These are just a sample, but we are extremely grateful for the volunteer and financial support from attorneys across the state of the North Carolina Bar Foundation and its mission to be a power of greater good for the people of our state. So again, thank you very much for the invitation this morning. We're grateful for opportunities to support the legal profession of our state and their work on behalf of the public. And we thank you greatly for your dedicated work as our state bar. And I appreciate the opportunity to give you some highlights of what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate all that you and all the others at the Bar Association are doing, and especially appropriate the wind up with the Bar Foundation's work about pro bono week coming up beginning Sunday. And in recognition of that, we would like to give some special recognition to pro bono awards to law students from each of the law schools in North Carolina. I hope they're here joined with us this morning. We had wanted to recognize them and allow them to just take a minute and give us some remarks. I think we have Alexander Rutgers from University of North Carolina Law School. Are you with us, Mr. Rutgers?
Yes, I am, sir.
Great. Would you share with us your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you so much. I am grateful to be here and be in a profession that values both public service and volunteerism through pro bono work. I feel inspired by the many lawyers who have dedicated their lives to representing people who, without an attorney's selfless service, wouldn't have an advocate and counselor to help them through their legal problems. I came into law school after serving in the Army and as a public school teacher, and I was so excited to find a culture at the University of North Carolina that is centered around public service for our state. There I was guided by many professors who helped me understand and seek to, in my own small way, fill the justice gap, which hurts so many people, just as our new state bar president mentioned. I feel especially grateful to our dean, Martin Brinkley, who challenged me from day one to stay focused on the ideals which led me into this calling. At UNC Law, I soon met a group of students dedicated to pro bono service, led by the faculty advisor, Allison Constance. Allison was instrumental in my personal growth and development throughout law school, as I was fortunate to contribute over 500 hours in serving the people of North Carolina from the coast to the mountains through the school's pro bono projects. I'm so thankful to have been able to consider her both a mentor and a friend, and for all the people on the student and alumni boards who were such a good influence on me. I now have the pleasure of working at Legal Aid of North Carolina, helping victims of Hurricane Florence overcome the legal obstacles which otherwise prevent them from receiving disaster assistance. I'm excited to be able to put my newly acquired law license to such good use, and for my supervisors at Lance, who have been both training me and encouraging me to continue pro bono service in my community here in Fayetteville. Finally, to the State Bar for so valuing pro bono service and encouraging a new generation of lawyers to dedicate themselves to this calling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rutgers. We appreciate that and appreciate what you are doing. Rachel Pender from Wake Forest University School of Law.
Hi, that's me.
Hey, Rachel, would you give us your thoughts?
Sure. Thank you so much, first of all, for this award. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my family for their support over the last 3 years of law school. 2 months before I got married, I told my husband I wanted to quit my job as a teacher and go to law school, and he has been fully supportive of that very interesting and long journey. So I'm really appreciative of that. And I'm especially thankful to my parents who taught me at a very young age the importance of service to your community and the service to others, and who have led by example in that way. Before going to law school, I taught at Reynolds High School here in Winston-Salem, and I would be remiss if I did not thank all of my wonderful colleagues there for the way that they expanded my understanding of what it means to serve others and to truly be of service to your community. Without their support and the way that they lead by example, I really don't think I would be here today. And finally, I'm really grateful for the leadership at Wake Forest Law School, particularly Dean Aiken, Ms. Hazel Mack, Professor Steve Virgil, and Professor John Corzin, who have really trusted students to lead the pro bono program. They've entrusted us with really impactful pro bono opportunities. They've put a lot of faith into the students, and without their faith, we wouldn't be able to do what we're able to do. So I'm just so thankful for this opportunity, and really excited to continue pro bono work as I start my career.
Great, thanks. We're excited for you, and you were fortunate to have such a supportive spouse and family to help get you to this place. Thank you for being here and what you've done. Deborah Merdner from Elon University School of Law.
Good morning. Thank you very much to the State Bar, as well as all the attorneys in North Carolina who do put such an emphasis on pro bono legal service. I would like to thank the Elon Law for their emphasis on pro bono legal work, as well as our faculty advisor, Jennifer Mancarini. During my time at law school, I dedicated a large portion of my pro bono work to the Lawyer on the Line program with Legal Aid. So thank you to all of those attorneys and staff behind the scenes that make that program run and assist so many members of the North Carolina community. I would also like to thank the attorneys at Triad Legal Group, which is a nonprofit located in Greensboro that offer legal services on a sliding scale, which allows those who do not qualify for legal aid services to still get reduced fee legal advice. As I have started my career at Herring Koenig Law here in Greensboro, I thank them for their flexibility and their encouragement for work in the community and pro bono legal service. And for those attorneys located in the Triad, I encourage each of you to look into the Women's Resource Center of Greensboro and their phone legal service hotline. And once again, just thank you for this honor. And I appreciate all of the attorneys who dedicate their time in the profession, as well as giving pro bono service outside of their day-to-day work.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. We appreciate that. Casey Okel was the recipient from Campbell. I don't think she was able to join us, and
I don't see her here.
she's doing okay. We thank her, and sorry she's not with us. From North Carolina Central University School of Law, we have Jared Pong. Is he
I
not?
don't believe he's with us either.
Okay. From Duke University School of Law, we had Justin Matthew Pack.
And
Is he-
I did not see him on the list either.
Okay. We would certainly like to thank the law schools for creating the environment where this kind of response is furthered and nurtured, and how important public service is to us. You young new lawyers who are coming out are such an inspiration to those older seasoned lawyers like me. We know the profession will be in good hands in the years to come. Thank you all for what you've done and for what you continue to do. Next on our agenda, I believe, is the report from our General Counsel, Catherine Jean. Good morning, Catherine. We'd love to hear your report and about the new things going on in your shop.
Catherine, you're muted.
I am.
Oh, now you're good. Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
I'm actually on Alice's computer. We're tag teaming here. Well, you have in your materials a report of the activities of the Office of Counsel during the last quarter, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about that. No one? Okay, well, thank you very much. Let me know if I can answer questions after the meeting. Thank you.
And you had Catherine,
Yes, sir.
with Ruth's retirement, you had someone new joining,
That's right. Let me see.
Liza.
Liza is here. She is.
Okay.
I would like to introduce to you our latest addition to the Office of Counsel, Deputy Counsel Liza Foley. Liza was a summer intern in the Office of Counsel a couple of years ago, and we were so impressed with her that we wanted to hire her. And instead, she decided she wanted to go work for Judge Zachary on the Court of Appeals, which is understandable. But after she finished her service there, she did join our staff, and she's been really very game about learning to do this job without people in the office. And she's doing a fantastic job for us. So welcome, Liza. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Good. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am. We had some annual reports from our boards and agencies. I think most of those are in your packet, have been posted on the website for review in advance. I think we were going to, get a report from the Board of Continuing Legal Education. And I don't know if George Jenkins is on to make that report, or.
Yes, he is.
I
Okay.
am here.
Hey, George, could you kind of give us an update on the things that have been going on with the Continuing Legal Education Board?
Thank you, Colin. I have not been blessed with Catherine Jean's gift of brevity, but you do have our report in your materials. North Carolina lawyers have completed 400,648 hours of continuing legal education last year, and that averages a little over 15 hours per active member of the state bar, which, as you know, is 3 hours more than the mandated 12-hour total. And the state CLE program continues to operate on a sound financial footing. You have our numbers in the report that's before you. Early this summer, the CLE board formed a subcommittee to study the issues of diversity, inclusion, and elimination of bias. And we have made a recommendation to the executive committee, which I believe may be on your agenda today, for publication of a proposed rule amendment. We are very strongly in favor of this change in the CLE rules and would encourage the council to pass the rule change and submit it for publication. This would go into effect with the 2022 academic year and would be 1 hour that year for all lawyers, all active members of the bar. This is just a temporary measure. We will have a recommendation for a longer term solution to the issues that we face. Frankly, we think that a 1 hour course once a year is probably not sufficient, but that a 3 hour course over a longer period of time would be more effective in helping the members of the bar. That's not our recommendation today. Our recommendation is for a 1 hour course during the next academic year. The new CLE software that's integrated into the state bar software can handle the compliance with that requirement. We have had 2 members whose terms have expired, J. Dixon Phillips III of Chapel Hill and Chief Judge Linda M. McGee of the North Carolina Court of Appeals in Raleigh have both completed their terms of service. They have been wonderful members of our committee and they will be missed for the contributions they made continuously. Your CLE board strives to continue the ensuring that the continuing legal education requirements of the state bar meaningfully enhance the competency of North Carolina lawyers. And of course, we would welcome any recommendations that the council might have in this regard. And the members of the CLE board, thank you for the opportunity to have served the public and the North Carolina State Bar in this regard. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this point.
Does anyone have any questions for George regarding the CLE board operation? If not, George, we thank you for what y'all are doing and the great work, and we appreciate this. Alice, for point of reference, is it appropriate to take this as an action item now or to wait during the executive committee report?
Well, typically it would come up during the executive committee report, but if you want to take it out of order, that's fine too.
All right, since George is here, maybe if we'll go ahead if that's right. For the benefit of the council, the executive committee has recommended, following the advice of the Board of Continuing Legal Education, that we make a proposed publication of a rule change to require 1 hour of continuing legal education by the year 2022 under the definition of diversity, inclusion, and elimination of bias training. That comes from the executive committee. It does not need a second. Is there any further discussion about that matter before we vote? If not, those in favor of that motion, please let it be known by voting yes on the screen, and those opposed, no.
That's unanimous.
All right. Thank you. The motion passes. George, thank you and the board for your great work. We appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Colin, and thank you to the members of the Bar Council.
On my notes, I had that as the only board and agency that was going to make an oral report, that all the others were in writing and posted to our EDDS. Is there Anything else, Alice, along those lines of oral reports?
No, sir. Just encourage folks to read those annual reports. They usually are an oral component, and it usually contains information that I think is important for counselors to be aware of. So I encourage folks to read that.
Yeah, a lot of effort and work went into doing those, and they do it for your convenience so that you can read them at your leisure, and hope you'll take advantage of that. At this point, I think we move to the committee reports. We're at the, I guess it comes to the executive committee. At this point, do we review the proposed, the minutes of the last council meeting?
Yes, sir. I typically, Barbara would sort of take over and
Okay, all right.
the presentation for executive.
I was hoping to be able to hand that off. Thank you.
Barbara might not thank me.
It's just a little small, just a little fumble, but y'all are used to that.
No, actually, I thought I only did part of it, but that's all right. The first item is approval of the proposed minutes, and there are two sets of minutes. The minutes of the council's last meeting on July 24th, 2020. Minutes of the executive committee's meeting on July 23rd, 2020. Those were in EDDS, and we'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Move to approve the minutes. Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. All in favor, please vote, whether you're in favor or against. Vote.
That's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Next, we move to recommendations from the Finance and Audit Committee, and there are three matters we'll be asking you to vote on. The first is approval of the financial statements for the third quarter. It is the motion of the Finance and Audit Committee that those be approved. I don't know if there's any discussion on those. Okay. Hearing none, I don't think that motion requires a second. Does it, Alice? No. All right, then let's go ahead and vote either for or against the approval of the financial statements.
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Next item was to establish the amount of dues for the year 2021. We are currently and have been at some time at our statutory maximum of $300 per year. And it is the recommendation of the Finance and Audit Committee, the motion of the Finance and Audit Committee, that those be set at $300 for the year 2021. Any questions or comments? Okay. Then please indicate your vote for or against.
That's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Finally, it's our task to set the annual assessment for the Client Security Fund. And it is the motion of Finance and Audit that that be set at $25 for 2021. Any questions on that? Okay. Then I'll ask that everybody vote on that.
And that's unanimous.
Okay. Okay. Peter or Alice, do we need a council vote to approve the meeting dates?
Yes, we do.
Okay. That would be the next item on our agenda. These would be the State Bar Council meeting dates for 2021. Those are in your material. I'm just going to read them real quickly to make sure. So this would be the recommendation, January 12th through 15th, 2021 at Raleigh, April 13th through 16th, 2021, July 13th through 16th, 2021. That one is currently slated to be in Asheville, and October 5 through 8, 2021 in Raleigh. Do I have a motion for approval of those dates?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? All in favor or against, please vote.
That's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move into the report from appointments. There were several appointments to be made. The Client Security Fund, there was appointment to be made, appointment of the chair and the vice chair. And it is the motion of the Appointments Advisory Committee that Erwin Fuller Jr. be appointed chair and that Tom Lunsford be appointed vice chair. I'll just ask that everybody vote on that matter, please.
That's unanimous.
Okay. Board of Law Examiners, there were 3 appointments. And the current folks that are on that board are eligible for reappointment. That'd be Roger A. Askew, George Hicks, and Judge Ned W. Mangum, all eligible for reappointment. And it is the motion of Appointments Advisory that they each be reappointed. I'd ask that everybody indicate your vote on that, please.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Board of Continuing Legal Education, as you heard George Jenkins say, Judge Linda McGee and J. Dixon Phillips are not eligible for reappointment, so those seats are to be filled. Robert C. Kemp is eligible for reappointment. So it's our recommendation that Robert C. Kemp III be reappointed and that we also appoint Paul Capua of Boone and Judge Ashley Parker Dunstan to the vacant seats. And while we're on that board, it is our recommendation that George L. Jenkins be appointed as chair of that commission and Judge Elizabeth Keever as vice chair. So as to all those matters, if there's no discussion, I would ask that you vote, please.
That carries.
Okay, thank you. NC Leaf, the North Carolina Legal Education Assistance Foundation, has 1 appointment. William Purcell is eligible for reappointment, and it is our motion that he be reappointed. Ask that everybody vote for that, please.
That carries.
Board of Paralegal Certification, there are 3 appointments to be made. The folks that are currently holding the seats are all eligible for reappointment. That would be Russell Neighbors, Sarah Kaufman, Lakeisha Chichester. It is our recommendation that they all be reappointed and that Warren Hodges be appointed as chair and Brian Scott as vice chair. And that is the motion of Appointments Advisory. Ask that everybody please indicate your vote for that motion.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And our final matter was 2 appointments to the Judicial Standards Commission. And it is the motion of Appointments and Advisory that those appointments be to Michael Kroll of Chapel Hill and Michael Grace of Winston-Salem. And that is the motion. I'll ask that everybody vote on that.
That motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Finishes it up for Appointments Advisory.
All right. Turning our attention to the proposed amendments for publication, we have already dealt with the matter from the Continuing Legal Education Board. There was another recommendation of the Executive Committee for a publication of a proposed amendment regarding the admission or changing the rule requiring the Board of Law Examiners to give all of the bar exams in Wake County. We're proposing that we publish a rule that will change that and make those exams have to be given within the state so that they can use some additional venues during this time of crisis to have adequate space to give the exams. That does not need second, it comes as a recommendation from the executive committee for that. Is there any further discussion regarding the publication of the rule to expand the venues for the bar exam? If not, those in favor, please let it be known by voting yes, and those opposed, no on your screen.
That motion carries.
Thank you. The next matter deals with proposed amendments that were published after the July quarterly meeting. We had several, as you can see. We had one regarding the training of law students. We had the revision of the advertising rules. We had the revision of the rule regarding charging a client for responding to a disciplinary inquiry, and a motion to change a rule to change the proposed preamble. The first three did not receive any comments, and the motion of the executive committee is that those be sent to the Supreme Court for their approval. The fourth one, the matter of the preamble, we received a number of comments that went back to the ethics committee, and the ethics committee recommended sending that matter to a subcommittee along with the study of Rule 8.4G for further discussion and to address the comments before they come forward with a recommendation. So we would recommend the sending on of those first three and not addressing the fourth one at this point. Is there any questions about that? If not, those in favor of that recommendation of the executive committee, please let it be known by voting yes. Those opposed, no.
That motion carries.
Okay. I believe that concludes the executive committee's report, unless I've overlooked something. We do have a report from the administrative committee. Everett, Thompson, or Everett, I've seen you earlier. Are you available?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm here. Thank you very much. We had our administrative committee meeting on Monday, October the 19th. We had a very good meeting, and I want to thank all the staff for all the good work they do to help us. I'm going to list what we recommend to the council for approval. We started out with 88 inactive petitions for lawyers who want to be inactive, although they have complied most of their requirements. 88 were granted, but 17 were granted upon satisfying requirements, and 4 were granted that their inactive position would end on December the 31st, 2019, and non pro tunc. We also recommend reinstatement from inactive status, 17 lawyers, one of which was granted upon satisfaction of requirements. We dealt with reinstatement from suspended status. Obviously, lawyers were suspended, not voluntarily. 4 lawyers were granted reinstatement from suspended status, and one of those was granted upon satisfying requirements. We dealt with authorizing 9 out-of-state lawyers to be pro bono practice in North Carolina. We also recommend the approval of amendment for bylaws for the judicial districts 10 and 20. In your packet, you'll have the listing of lawyers who are going to be sent show cause notices and suspension orders. 364 lawyers will be issued a suspension order for failure to comply with membership and or CLE mandatory requirements. And 789 lawyers will be issued notices to show cause for failure to comply with mandatory membership requirements. Now, what we recommend is that the counselors reach out to lawyers in their district that are on this list. But you'll probably get an updated list next week from Tammy Jackson. There may be some that will be taken off that list because they've complied. But lawyers with an asterisk by their name does not require a courtesy call. And if you have any questions about CLE compliance, you could refer to Deborah Holland. She's the Assistant CLE Director. Any judicial district requirements, you just do the local district. And any other questions, you could contact Tammy Jackson. She's the Director of Membership. So on page 48 of your packet is all these what our report really is, all the different names and the requirements that they are recommended to do. But I think at this point, then, Mr. President, that the council would vote yes or no for these recommendations for approval.
Thank you, Everett. We appreciate what y'all have done. The motion comes from the the administrative committee. It does not require a second. Is there any further discussion before we vote? If not, those in favor, please vote yes, and those opposed, no on your screen.
And that motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Everett. Kevin Williams, authorized practice.
Thank you, Colin. The Authorized Practice Committee met on Wednesday, October 21, and the committee reviewed 18 complaints and inquiries for action. The committee issued letters of caution in 11 matters. The committee also voted to refer one matter to other regulatory authorities. The committee dismissed 5 matters. The committee closed the files with no action in one matter. The committee voted to recommend to the executive committee that it authorize the state bar to seek injunctive relief in one matter, and that was approved by the executive committee yesterday. The staff registered amendments to 22 existing prepaid legal service plans. The staff reviewed one prepaid plan for initial registration. The plan was not accepted. And finally, the committee voted to ask the council to revoke the registration of My Family Plan, LLC, as a prepaid legal service plan. The plan failed to file an annual registration statement and pay the annual registration renewal fee. The plan owner died, and neither the attorney for the plan owner's estate nor the only participating attorney for the plan believe that the plan continues to operate in North Carolina. On behalf of the Authorized Practice Committee, brought this to the attention of the Executive Committee yesterday to revoke the registration. That was approved, and so I think we need a full council vote today, Mr. President, on the revocation of the prepaid legal service plan of My Family Plan, LLC, plan number 09PP0019.
Thank you, Kevin. On the motion of the Authorized Practice Committee for the revocation of My Family Plan LLC, are there any further questions? If not, those in favor of that motion, please let it be known by voting yes, and those opposed, no.
That motion carries.
As to the matter of the seeking injunctive relief on the matter yesterday, is that necessary for a council vote, or is the Alice, or is the executive committee's authorization sufficient?
The executives committee, it has the authority to approve that. It doesn't require council approval.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Kevin?
No, that concludes the report of the Authorized Practice Committee. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Communications Committee, Heidi Bloom.
Good morning. Thank you, Colin, and good morning to everyone. As you all will hear shortly, the Communications Committee is going to be spotlighting on Colin and our other officers in the upcoming months, but we have had trouble pinning down outgoing officer Gray Wilson. So in his honor, I contemplated using lots of big vocabulary words in my committee report, but then I was afraid I'd use them out of context or mispronounce them. So, Gray, I would simply say thank you for your numerous and significant contributions to the State Bar. For your remarks this morning, I actually just thought Eponymous was an REM album. So, the Communications Committee met on Monday afternoon, and we focused on 3 items. First, we discussed what has been accomplished this far, and I suppose in what could be considered one of the rare silver linings of the pandemic, we have improved and I believe expanded our ability to increase both the transparency and the accessibility of the State Bar through technology and through communication in various mediums. Excluding quarterly meetings from the end of July through now, we have live streamed 14 meetings and various subcommittee meetings. And I think perhaps more importantly, people actually watch them. So while we aren't the D'Amelios yet, we are gaining followers besides just Catherine's parents. And if you don't know what the D'Amelios are, you might want to ask Barbara's grandson. I bet he knows. Anyhow, we hope to continue that upward trajectory of viewership and interest and observation of the public and of other stakeholders. So the second thing we worked on is our upcoming plans for the 4th quarter, and those include several podcasts, starting with a joint interview with outgoing President Colin Willoughby and incoming Vice President Marcy Armstrong. That podcast will be moderated by Mark Enriquez and will hopefully air in the next 2 weeks. We also hope to have a conversation with new President Barbara Christie regarding her vision for 2021. Although Barbara, if 2020 is any precedent, I guess expect the unexpected and be prepared for anything. And finally, I'm hoping that we'll be able to work on a podcast with Chief Justice Beasley. So Chief Justice, if you're still tuned in, I will be in touch. I hope that we'll be able to meet in person in 2021, but regardless, we continue to live stream our meetings and improve our ability to do that. And I'm hoping that each of you will encourage viewership and observation and participation with those that you know, because it's important, the work that the bar does, and I think the public and our constituents should know that. So the third thing that we actually talked about was the need for a review of technology in the State Bar building. I think the State Bar building went live in 2013. Obviously, it's an understatement to say that a lot has changed since then, but particularly in the area of technology. So we have to date relied on basically staff to get us through recent challenges, including the ransomware attack and of course the pandemic. And the staff, particularly Brian and Peter, have been fantastic. They've done an amazing job. But I don't think it's a sustainable technological plan to depend on Peter's iPhone going forward. So it is the opinion of the committee that we should undergo a study of the bar's current technology and assess what, if any, maybe there aren't any, but if any improvements that might be needed, including potentially cameras with actual live stream and video conferencing ability, proper microphones, tablets, etc. So in closing, Colin, thank you always for your grace and your humor and your humility and your ubiquitous leadership. You have unquestionably left the campsite better than you found it. And to my friends, Barbara and Marcy, congratulations. I'm proud of you. And Darren, you're a lucky man to have either of them on both sides of you. And I think the three of you will continue the extraordinary leadership of this organization. And that is the report of the Communications Committee. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Heidi. We know a little ironic that we have our own Heidi Bloom instead of Heidi D'Amelio to those who are uninformed. But thank you. Thank you for what you've done for the communications. We've really ratcheted things up, and hopefully with our increase in technology here in the building, we'll be able to do more good things in the years to come. I think the importance of that is going to be obvious to all of us. Thank you. Ethics Committee, David Allen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm happy to be in front of you again today to present the Ethics Committee report. At this time last year, I bragged on the Ethics Committee, which blew through its agenda and got through way ahead of grievance, and we were all standing around waiting for our grievance brethren and sisters to come out of their doors. And then in January, we did the same thing. That was your executive director rewarded us with that by canceling our meeting and not allowing us to meet in April. And then this month, when we had perhaps the heaviest agenda that I've seen in the last several years, the executive director took her pocket knife out and whittled away on our time so that we had to gallop through our agenda yesterday. But with the assist from the whip that is employed by Brian, we were able to move through a very heavy agenda. And I'll just walk through a little bit of it. The materials are in your packet. We start off by, I do want to seriously say how busy both ethics and staff has been in the last quarter. We had over 1,000 telephonic inquiries, as we do. It seems like every quarter we have well over 1,000. We had that again this past year. There's really not been an uptick. I was surprised that we've not seen more of that in the electronic age, but we have. But the staff was quite busy with that. They also found time to give 3 CLEs virtually, and I commend the staff for that, and also recommend to counselors, if you need a speaker on an ethics issue for a local meeting, our staff is both virtuoso and virtual and able to bring those presentations to you, and so I recommend those to you. We also had 11 subcommittee meetings over the last quarter, and that's a lot. We've worked our members very hard. Several of our subcommittees were expanded to make sure that we had all points of view represented, and so almost everybody on ethics is on 2 or 3 subcommittees this quarter and actually has worked very hard, and so I appreciate the committee's hard work for that. As a result, we have 5 matters that were referred back to subcommittee yesterday, 5 more that were issued for publication. We have 2 matters for council action, Mr. President, and these were matters that were published previously. We received no comment on them. One is 2020 FEO 3, the other is 2020 FEO 4. Those were published in the last quarter. We received no comment, and we would ask that they be adopted or approved by the council.
You want to just kind of give a short synopsis of what those are?
Yes, sir. The first is solo FEO 3 is solo practitioner as a witness litigant. This allows, there's been a question that's been raised out there as to whether the lawyer litigant, and we've had a series of opinions dealing with lawyer litigants. The full opinion is in the materials, but it's not a particularly controversial one. The other matter is 2020 FEO 4, which is investment litigation financing. It's attached to the materials, and again sets some standards and guidelines for the use of litigation funding mechanisms in the litigation practice.
Thank you, David.
No comments since those were published.
Does anyone have any other? Hello?
Colin, you're still on audio. Your video is just off.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm on. Okay. Just another technological marvel there. Thank you. We have the motion or recommendation from the Ethics Committee for the council to vote on 2020 FEO 3 and 2020 FEO 4. Are there any further questions before we vote on those? If not, then those that vote for acceptance of those 2 ethics opinions, I'm going to take them together. Please let it be known by voting yes on the screen, and those opposed, no.
And that carries.
All right. Thank you. Anything else for ethics, David?
Yes, sir. Just one quick comment. We did receive as you mentioned in the executive summary, the The matter for the preamble, we received a number of comments on those. It seemed the proper course to refer those, as we would in the normal course, to a subcommittee. There's already a subcommittee looking at Rule 8.4, and so the preamble issue and all the comments we received were sent to that subcommittee. That's a very hardworking subcommittee. They met twice this quarter and are scheduled to meet again quite soon. We continue to post on the State Bar website the meetings of both that committee and the Rule 1.1 subcommittee that are looking at issues of racial equity. I'm also continuing to send notices to all the council so that if people wish to attend those, if council members view that as too much traffic in their inbox, you can opt out or just let us know. But it seemed to me those were issues that it was proper to let all the council know when those meetings would be. The significant material, I mean, we received, I can't remember the exact numbers, but probably 100 and well over 100 comments, both pro and contra, on the preamble and the Rule 8.4 issues. Those materials are all available on the website and were published to all members of the Ethics Committee. So that material is there for anybody who wishes to go through that. They can contact me or Brian, or as I said, it's available on the website. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that. And I know Steve Robertson is chairing that subcommittee, and they have really been doing yeoman's work. And thank you to them and to the many subcommittees y'all have had. It really has been a workload this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Grievance Committee, Todd Brown.
Good morning, Mr. President, counselors and bar staff and guests. The Grievance Committee continued its usual good work this quarter. We handle a total of 224 total matters. 157 of those were dismissed by the chairs and the subcommittee chairs and the chair, and the remaining 67 were addressed this past Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday by the subcommittees. And I want to share just a brief summary of the work and the result of that work. And I'll take a moment to applaud the good and efficient work of the Ethics Committee, as it always does. We, however, have adopted a intentional, deliberative decision-making process, and I'll tell you a little bit about that right now. We dismissed 158 files, as I mentioned. 2 files were abated, 2 files were continued, 1 lawyer was referred to LAP, 9 lawyers were referred to the Trust Accounting Compliance Program, 1 lawyer received a letter of caution, 18 lawyers received letters of warning, 9 lawyers received admonitions, 4 received reprimands, 3 received censures, and 9 lawyers were referred to the DHC. So that is the summary of the report of the Grievance Committee this quarter. I think a fuller report is should be in the materials. I don't believe that requires a motion or a second.
Okay.
That is the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Todd. Anybody have any questions for Todd? If not, Issues Committee, Darren.
Yeah, the Issues Committee met at the beginning of the year. President Willoughby had asked us to look at 3 issues. The first one was compensation of court-appointed attorneys, whether they be doing criminal work or civil work. He asked us to look at the idea of proportional discovery, which deals with Rule 26 of the Rules of Civil Procedure. And he also asked us to conduct a study of proposed regulatory changes that were occurring in other states like Utah, Arizona, and Washington State. Of those 3 subcommittees, only 2 of them are coming out of this tenure of President Willoughby, and that is the compensation of court-appointed attorneys. That committee is chaired by Judge Galen Cobb, And at present time, it received some information from the Indigent Defense Service Commission and actually the North Carolina Indigent Defense Service Agency with regards to just information to lay the groundwork for what exactly they do and what their concerns are and problems that they face. So that committee's still working and has actually received some really good input from the IDS agency, and we'll be looking at their recommendations to see where we go from there. The proportional discovery subcommittee chaired by soon to be past president Gray Wilson has decided that their work is completed at this point in time because they don't feel like there is enough evidence that there is a demand for a change in Rule 26 to warrant going over to the legislature and seeking a change at the legislature for proportional discovery. So that committee at this point in time, at least until they receive or we receive additional information that there are problems with discovery, have probably concluded their work. The other committee, subcommittee, is chaired by Mark Enriquez, and that has been a very involved situation or subcommittee in looking at these other states that are making regulatory changes, and they're all in view of trying to increase the access to justice for folks who don't necessarily have the wherewithal or the resources to hire an attorney. And Mark has led that group along with speakers that have come on and presented, and they've really been doing sort of an investigation and sort of a learning times when they're trying to learn what these other things are. And I think they're getting ready to get into the specifics with regards to what kind of things Arizona, California, and Utah and Washington actually are doing. So that committee continues on. The one matter that came on that is possibly and probably a new subcommittee that the Issues Committee will take on is there was the LAP board presented to the officers back in June of this year a memorandum asking the officers to consider certain issues and the implementation of things for diversity and inclusion. And the officers have looked at those. Alice has combed through those recommendations and has come forth with several items. And these items are listed in the issues agenda on EDDS. And I'm not going to go through them specifically, but we are in the process of forming a subcommittee to review and look at those items. Again, with the same charge that we have for the regulatory review, and that is just to see what's out there and whether changes within our structure are appropriate and something that we ought to address. So that would be the report of the Issues Committee at this point in time.
Thank you, Darren. This y'all are dealing with some important things that'll impact us in the years to come. We appreciate that. Randy Vickery from the LAMP Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The LAMP Committee met yesterday. That's the Legal Assistance for Military Personnel Committee. It's been an unusual year for us too, but fairly productive in some of the things we wanted to do when we started the year. We had representatives from the Marines, Camp Lejeune, Army, Fort Bragg, and North Carolina National Guard representatives that were present. As always, I want to refer you and reference you to our web page. We have a webmaster is By Shields or Buren Shields. He does a great job of seeing what comes and goes in that. And that's at nclamp.gov. You can click to it straight off of the bar website. But one of the things, or two of the things we wanted to do was to keep these, keep our publications on that website updated. We've got a great, like I said, I really do. I know I mention it every time I give a report, but I want to make sure that I emphasize it. It's an excellent product, mostly with contributions from Mark Sullivan and Mike Archer. But we realize we need to update those items and keep them fresh. And so we start out with the committee. We call it the updates to the North Carolina Publications Committee. We've got a chair for that. That's Michelle Weiner Pike. Of course, she's helping Mark Sullivan. We've got enlisted the help of a number of law schools, or most of the North Carolina law schools have agreed to help us with that. We've also got another committee, a subcommittee that we formed that's that again is kind of spearheaded by Mark Sullivan, but the chair is going to be Kristen Coyne, and also helping out with that is Meredith Egan. That's primary function is to gather information from the government without having to every time you need something from the government to go through the federal court. And this Mark has produced a working product that this subcommittee is going to be able to build on, and really are looking forward to further action on that. Also want to thank and we appreciate the participation of some of our former JAG officers who are also law professors. We of course have teamed with John Brooker of the UNC Law School for CLE in the past, and we hope to do that again very soon. We also have now on our committee Ellie Morales from the Wake Forest Law School. So we're very happy to have them. And as always, I want to give a shout out to what I always refer to as the adults in the room, Jennifer Porter, our counsel, and Brittany Wilson, who also helps to keep us straight. The one other thing I want to mention, and again, it's been this unusual year that we haven't been able to meet and have our kind of casual social settings. I had hoped to share a number of colonisms with the group that I have picked up over the years, not just at the bar. After Colin left his job as a district attorney, he went to one of the silk stocking law firms, and kind of lost track of his old buddies. But he was a rough and tumble trial lawyer back in the day, and very, very bright, very quick. Again, these colonisms. If you got a chance to see the video last night, you need to look at that. I had hoped to participate in that, but when I talked to Peter about it, he sort of screened me and wanted to know what they might have been about. And every one of the ones that I have not already shared with this group involves some variety of four-letter words that Peter indicated to me might not be appropriate for the group that we had. And so, I tried not to. And I know it's a shock to you, but Colin occasionally uses vulgar or foul language. And if you didn't believe it before, you can go back and listen to what he said just moments ago when he thought he was off the air and off the mic. He used one of those words that begins with SH. And anyway, I thought that was appropriate. So, but anyway, if there was ever a question about how quick Colin is and what a great trial lawyer he is, at the July meeting, most of you were probably present for this. I use an iPad when I'm watching, so I've got this kind of Brady Bunch screen going, and on my feed that I had, the page that I was looking at, I had Colin and I had Peter Bolak and I had Gray Wilson in my screen there. And I know Gray will remember this because he got such a big kick out of it, but Colin was talking, he was moving along with the agenda, and all of a sudden he just mouth open. I mean, you could tell that it had stopped. And I could see Peter get on his computer, do that, never missed a beat. Peter said, "It looks like we've suffered a colon freeze." So I see Gray Wilson bust out laughing at this colon freeze comment. and he's about to fall out of his chair. And eventually Colin comes back on, and we resumed the meeting. But later on, I mentioned to Colin, I said, you know, Peter made reference to you having a colon freeze, and you know, I told him about Gray laughing so hard about it. Colin never missed a beat. He said, well, at least we didn't have a frozen Peter. That's my report for today, and I didn't say any ugly words there. Thank you, Mr. President. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Brandy. Peter, I appreciate your attempts at screening Brandy. Some things just aren't to happen. But I also appreciate the LAMP committee. We have so many dedicated folks on there, mostly not folks that aren't counselors who work on this committee because of their passion for it and what they do. And we really do have a model committee of that. But thanks to them and Brandy for your leadership. John Willardson, Legislative Committee, I don't think we met. Is there anything you need to update us?
There really is not an update. We hope to have a thorough report for you at the January meeting. Our October 19th meeting was canceled simply because we had nothing substantive to discuss. So thank you.
All right, thank you. We have next the Distinguished Service Award. We want to do that. I think Charles Hardy.
Thank you, Colin. I'm glad that I wish that I really wasn't following effectively Brandy today, but our Distinguished Service Committee does have one nominee for the executive, for the council to consider. I would accordingly be moving that we go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A2 to prevent the premature disclosure of an honorary degree, scholarship prize, or similar award.
All right, we have a motion to go in closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please let me know by voting yes on your screen. Those opposed, no.
That motion carries.
Thank you. All right. Peter, do you need to do anything before we?
Yes, so I'm going to turn off the live stream, and then I'm going to put anyone who's not on the council or State Bar staff lawyer into the waiting room. I'm thinking about removing them.
I'd second.
We're good to go.
All right. Thank you. We are back in open session. In closed session, we received a nomination and a report and a nomination from the Distinguished Service Committee to present the Distinguished Service Award to a bar member. Is there, that comes from Distinguished Services, no need of a second. Is there any further discussion before voting on the motion to accept that recommendation? If not, those in favor, please let it be known by voting yes on your screen, and those opposed, no.
That motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr.
Next
President.
is
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, while I have the floor, I wanted to let the committee know about our other a couple of other brief matters.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
If I may, please, sir.
Sure, please do.
One, just letting everyone know that we are still working on presentations for both Vic Boone, Woody Kinnett, Bill Powers, and Ashley Hogwood. They are in the works in trying to, some of them are, well, Vic Boone wants to wait until there's an in-person, we can do this as an in-person event. The others, I think, are working on Zoom plannings. I would also, as always, remind everyone that when you go home to please think about other deserving nominees. I would like to thank Suzanne and all our committee members for all the hard work. Since I have the floor, Colin, thank you for all of your exemplary, admirable service, and congratulations to Barbara, Darren, and Marcy. And also, Colin, thanks to you and the past presidents for allowing me to head up this committee. It's been quite a privilege to work on this committee as we try to honor the exemplary service of the great lawyers in our state. So thanks so very much, Colin.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles, and thank you for what you've done both on the council and with the Distinguished Service Award Committee. Is there anything else? If not, we'll move to nominated committee with John Silverstein.
Colin, John was on earlier, but I don't see him on now. And technically the work of that committee is complete.
Okay, all right. I was wondering if we were going to have another election here.
No, that was
God help us.
actually left on an error. So
all right, that's okay. That's my fault. Sorry. I would like to take just a minute to say thanks to our retiring counselors. Charles, we've got 4 folks that are rotating off this year. I'm not sure. I know Charles is with us. Charles, we thank you for all you have done and all you continue to do for the bar and the service you have gone. And we appreciate your comments. We had Kim Taylor was there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Judge Taylor, you retiring this year? Did you want to speak to us?
Yeah, I'm done. Unfortunately, I don't want to, but they're making me go.
Please do.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate everything that I've learned here.
Well, we've enjoyed having you. Thank you for all you've done. It's always nice to have you there and have your perspective on that. I saw Ray Bretzman, one of our retiring counselors, was on earlier. Are you still with us, Ray?
I am, Colin. The only thing I would say is that it's certainly been one of the most rewarding highlights of my career. I'm retiring from the practice of law, and I think it's time for an active lawyer to take my place for High Point, but I've enjoyed it a lot. I will make a pitch for the spouses program. Your wife and many others welcomed Teresa to all the meetings. She attended every meeting with me, and it was enjoyable that we could spend time and travel together to come to these. The other thing is the bar staff and leadership has just been phenomenal. I'm very impressed. You all do a great job.
Thanks. We appreciate that, Ray, and appreciate Teresa's involvement too. And our last retiring counselor was Judge Tim Patty, my law school classmate and friend, who is retiring at the end of this session. Is Tim, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Colin.
Oh, okay, great. Would you like to make a few
I
comments?
would just like to thank the staff for the hard work that they do. I am so impressed, and I will say I think I'm prouder today to be a lawyer and than I've been in the past 40 years. So I want to thank the staff and the leadership also, and wish everybody well again next year.
Great, thanks. Appreciate that, Tim. Thank you all. I don't know of anything further. I know we've had the swearing in this morning. We've made the transition.
I do have another matter.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're not going to get away that quickly.
I get out of town so fast. I left clothes in the cleaners when I left the DA's office, so I understand.
Yeah.
Where I work.
That's right. So if we have an extra hour or so, I wanted to read a resolution of approbation for Colin Willoughby. Whereas C. Colin Willoughby Jr. was elected by his fellow lawyers from Judicial District 10 in 1997 to serve as their representative in this body, he was thereafter re-elected counselor for 2 successive 3-year terms. At the time, he was the only sitting district attorney serving on the State Bar Council and remains one of the few district attorneys to ever serve on the council. Notably, this career experience as a prosecutor running a major district attorney's office made him an ideal fit for service as a counselor. And whereas after the required hiatus and ignoring his own admonition to not take the second kick of the mule and call it education, Mr. Willoughby ran for State Bar Counselor in 2013, and in a demonstration of the continuing esteem with which he is held by the lawyers of the 10th Judicial District Bar, Mr. Willoughby was elected to serve as counselor for the district for another 3-year term. And whereas in October 2017, Mr. Willoughby was elected vice president, and in October 2018, he was elected president-elect, and on October 24th, 2019, he was sworn in as president of the North Carolina State Bar. And whereas during his service to the North Carolina State Bar, Mr. Willoughby has served on the following committees: Administrative Committee, Appointments Advisory Committee, including as Vice Chair and Chair, Authorized Practice Committee, including twice serving as Chair, Disciplinary Review 2 Committee, including as Chair, Distinguished Service Committee, Ethics Committee, Executive Committee, including as Vice Chair and Chair, Finance and Audit Committee, including as Vice Chair and Chair, Grievance Committee, including as Vice Chair, Issues Committee, including as Vice Chair and Chair, Justice System Committee, Legislative Committee, Professionalism Committee, and Trust Accounting Committee. And we probably forgot a few. And whereas over the many years that he served as State Bar Counselor, Mr. Willoughby participated in numerous significant initiatives for the State Bar, including a major revision of the rules of professional conduct, establishment of the Attorney-Client Assistance Program, reorganization of the State Bar's committee structure, creation of the Paralegal Certification Program, expansion of the Lawyer Assistance Program to include mental health, as well as substance abuse intervention, creation of the John B. McMillan Distinguished Service Award, construction of the new State Bar headquarters, and extensive review of the disciplinary process, to name but a few. And whereas Mr. Willoughby's presidential year started out auspiciously but routinely with a successful first quarterly meeting of the council in January 2020 at State Bar headquarters in Raleigh. However, in the words of the wise man himself, as with love and rain dancing, timing is everything. The remainder of his presidential year was anything but routine, including both a global pandemic and historic unrest over racial injustice. And whereas when in mid-March 2020, the unique coronavirus, COVID-19, brought life as we know it worldwide to a standstill, requiring extraordinary measures to prevent the spread of the virus, including the conversion of the April, July, and October meetings of the council from in-person meetings to online virtual meetings, President Willoughby was unflappable as he guided the State Bar's response to the pandemic, including a successful request to the governor's office to find that legal services are essential and should be exempt from local and statewide shelter-in-place orders, thereby enabling lawyers to continue to practice and serve their clients in their communities. And whereas when the nation was shaken by the death in June of another Black man in police custody and protest erupted across the state and the nation, President Willoughby was a voice of understanding, compassion, and leadership, writing to the membership. The death of George Floyd, combined with the nationwide call to action inspired by that death, and the senseless deaths of too many other people of color, has brought to the forefront of our lives the historic inequities of our justice system and of our society. Much has been said about the issues surrounding racial inequality in America, and yet much more needs to be said. And more importantly, the anguish that underlies the protest needs to be heard and acted upon. Subsequently, President Willoughby facilitated initiatives to revise the rules of professional conduct and mandatory CLE requirements to encourage, assist, and support lawyers in fulfilling their professional responsibility to seek equal justice for all. And whereas during the turmoil of 2020, President Willoughby provided steady, wise leadership, including timely and impactful communications with lawyers, public officials, and members of the public. And although his presidential year was absent the usual trappings of office, most especially the opportunity to preside in person over meetings of the council, President Willoughby never complained or objected, but rather accepted with grace, patience, and good humor the unprecedented circumstances of his presidential year. And whereas President Willoughby's down-to-earth style, direct and candid communications, interspersed with homespun wisdom, down east proverbs, and a generous sense of humor, along with his uncommon ability to connect with anyone, were boons to the members of the council and of the State Bar staff as we confronted the difficulties of 2020 together. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the North Carolina State Bar does hereby, and with deep appreciation, express to C. Willoughby Jr. its debt for his personal service to the State Bar, to the people of North Carolina, to the legal profession, and for his dedication to the principles of leadership, integrity, professionalism, and equality. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be made a part of the minutes of the annual meeting of the North Carolina State Bar, and that a copy be delivered to C. Willoughby Jr.
Thank you, Barbara.
Well done, well done.
Thank you. And thank you all for your patience, your kindness, and for making this such a rewarding experience this year from the help of all of you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And with no further business, I guess we should be adjourned. Alice?
Well, one more piece of business, and
Okay.
usually we would be in the large courtroom, and at this point, you would ask Gray to escort Marcy Armstrong to the podium as the newest officer of the State Bar. Since we can't do that in reality, I'll turn it over, I guess, to Gray to do some kind of virtual transition here.
All right, I'm in command, and wonder who that sounded like. And I did want to announce our new Vice President, Marsha Armstrong. And what we do is I get booted out of my chair, and everybody slides one down so that Marcy can take her seat at the dais. And so what we're going to do now, I've got a copy of the Tao under my left arm here. We're going to go ahead and levitate in accord with our Asian religions. And so I'm levitating right now, and I don't want to go too high or I might get frozen. So we're all going to levitate, and I can see Marcy levitating right now, which is really good. And so drone-like, we're all just going to move in our respective areas, and I'm now off the dais. It's really nice to be back down to earth here. And I see Marcy is taking her seat, and the other two have slid down. They've shoved Colin down to the far right, where he's got his walk-in medicine cabinet right underneath the dais. And so I think we've just about made it. So now we have a great new slate of officers that got rid of that last bum, and Marcy henceforth will be known as Bossy Chops. Congratulations to you all.
Congratulations, Marcy. Thank you.
Thank you. Bossy Chops.
Well, that's quite a note to end on, but I don't know. Is there any other business that we have? Not.
No, sir.
Not,
no, sir.
All right. Well, thanks. So hopefully we look forward to January and the new year, and exciting and good times. Thank you all for all you're doing.